Wow.
Welcome. How are you today, Moana?
Yeah, good. Especially after that song.
Thank you to the troll for allowing us to have them join our party.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is awesome.
Yeah, so as everybody can tell, we're going to be talking about can I be happy by myself? Well, it can take a number of things, a number of different ways. We can be happy by ourselves. We can be happy doing things by ourselves. Do we need an organization to be happy? Do we need people around to be happy? It's all different perspectives, and we want to know from somebody who can help us, that being Moana, how we can be happy and how can we carry on and live a happy life. Do you think you can help us with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I think probably the best place to start is just to tell a little bit about my story. So I was brought up as a JW when I was 8 years old, and left home when I was 16 and was feeling very, very lost and broken and didn't really know where I was at or what I wanted. And then I fell pregnant at 19 years old and told my parents that I was pregnant. And the condition was that I could come home, but I had to go back. I had to go back to the organisation. So at that stage, I was 19. I had no money, so I had no choice. So I went back, and then I felt a lot of guilt and shame, a lot of fear. I thought that I personally thought it was better out in the world, but I was just not feeling too good about myself. So went back and felt very obligated to study. And then I got baptized, and I thought that was going to bring me all my happiness and joy. And I was still really, really miserable. And then I decided that was it. I left, and then I met my husband. And then I had to decide whether I was going to go back to the organisation or stay with my husband. And in that pivotal moment, I just knew that the organisation wasn't making me happy. So I decided to pick my husband, and then I got married and had children. And now I've been shunned, disfellowshipped for the last 15 odd years. And now I've been building this new life. So even though I got married and I had children and stuff like that, I still was in search of finding my happiness. So 4 years ago, I started coaching for myself and invested quite a bit of time and energy and money into truly finding what happiness was all about. And and this is where I am today. So now I've turned into a coach myself, and I get the opportunity to share my knowledge and skills with everybody else that is out there trying to find their happiness. Yeah.
Most importantly, would you say that you are happy?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm probably more aware of where happiness comes from.
Right.
Because as Jehovah's Witnesses, I did do a lot of research. I did a little bit of research around this in the jw.org before jumping on this call. And I actually wanted to find out if there was anything around self-love. And there really isn't much at all. And I guess when it came to happiness for me, I was always like, well, if I just go towards that destination or find that success or reach the top of the mountain, or if I got married, if I had children. So it was always like me hunting for this happiness and joy. And basically every time I got there, I never felt really fulfilled. Like there was always something missing from my life. And after doing a bit of research in the jdub.org, I was like, I wonder what they've got around self-love. And it was really interesting because there really isn't much at all. And so what I found was when I looked in the search and I typed in self-love, it really just came up with we need to have a reasonable degree of love. So respecting ourselves and our self-worth. And I was like, well, what do they mean by reasonable? Like, I understand that, you know, there's a point to self-love, like you can go to that point of being over the top or have that ego about yourself or be quite arrogant. But that doesn't mean that that's the essence of self-love, right? So yeah, I just found that really interesting. So when I looked at the top priorities in Jehovah's Witnesses, one of them was...
Did you say self-love?
Yeah. So when it comes to prioritizing, like what are our top priorities? Number one was to love God.
Publication.
And number two was love thy neighbor as yourself. And then number three was a reasonable love for himself. And then next to it had rest, eat, and association. And that was really bizarre for me, because what I noticed with being brought up as a J-dub is we're constantly being told to give all the time. So we need to be out in the service, we need to be studying, we need to go to the meetings, and we need to go out and save people so that they can reach that final destination with you, that paradise. But I'm like, well, how are we supposed to give to others if we can't even give to ourselves? And I believe from my learnings, from all the knowledge that I've learned, is we have to actually invest in ourselves first. We need to, you know, we're constantly searching for this happiness and joy on the exterior, but we're not actually finding happiness, which is in ourselves. So feeling it in your bones, you know, like all the happiness we need is right here, just being with ourselves. And that just, that's something that I've learned, and it's really blown me away that this is not practice in the organization, because that should be the most important thing of all, is to make sure that our cup is full. We've got an overflowing vessel to be able to give to others, because we're coming from a place of happiness and joy. But how can we do that if we haven't invested anything, right? Yeah. So that was interesting research. So for
you're
me,
talking about being in your bones. What do you actually mean?
So when I talk about that, it's about creating space. So just actually being on your own and creating a space so that you can actually reconnect with the power that you hold within. So we all have an intuition, a gut instinct. I call it the goddess, the divine feminine. Like, we all hold this power within ourselves. But what happens in the world that we live in our environment and how we've been brought up, is it's all about exterior and the do. But really, everything we need to understand and know about ourselves is actually inside of us. But the only way that we can ever connect with that is if we invest in ourselves. So taking that time to be with our inner body.
Invest?
So there's all beautiful ways that we can invest in ourselves, and that really comes down to knowledge and rituals and doing things that really, like, the question I ask myself is, what makes me feel good? And when I take away, like, money, like, say if money were no issue and it was just me being by myself, what actually truly makes me feel good? And when I think about that, I think about grounding. So being grounded and being with Mother Nature being in the forest, being on the beach, and just being by myself, spending that time being intentional. And what I mean by intentional is actually just being aware of my surroundings and taking in all of the elements around us, or using all of our senses, so our smell, our sight, our hearing, our touch, like bringing that all in and just being intentional. That's what intentional means. And that's the first way of being able to connect with yourself and invest in your body. So I do lots and lots and lots of rituals, but the first thing I always ask myself is, what actually makes me feel good in this moment? Mm-hmm. And the first thing I think about is getting grounded again. So taking my shoes off and walking around on the grass and taking a look around at what's around me and appreciating just the little things in life, like the trees and the birds and, the wind blowing through my hair, like just going back to basics and just really acknowledging what we have in this present moment. Yeah, because what happens is we're constantly chasing, right? Like social media, retail industries, schools, they're always dangling the carrot. Like, if you get an education, you can go to university and you'll get this job and then you'll be happy. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, I've got this new product and it's gonna like take all your wrinkles away and you're gonna be so young. And or here's a new diet. If you do this diet, if you get this brand new body, you're just gonna be really happy. Well, I can tell you that it's a load of crap, because happiness doesn't come from any of that. It all comes from in here. Yep. And knowing and getting in touch with who you are inside. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you talk about all these things. I guess the J-dubs sort of want us to be happy so that we've got paradise ahead of us, and to serve Jehovah and to do everything there. What you're talking about, does that happiness, can we work on that now that we're no longer part of the J-dubs?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I never thought it was possible. Like, I definitely had, I was quite hesitant about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but once I actually gave it a go, and don't worry, it took me a while, because I was just like, oh, what a load of garbage, this isn't going to work. So I understand that if you feel that. But once you actually do it, and I had a mentor, and she was just like, right, she was on my case. She was like my cheerleader in the background, just going, right, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it together, and I'm just going to lead the way for you, and you just go and do it. So the first thing I started with was journaling. So I went and bought a cheap journal from Kmart. You can buy them for $5. And she was like, right, I just want you to get all the stuff that is fogging you down in your brain, and I want you to start writing it on a piece of paper. And I'm like, I don't know what to write. What am I going to write about? And she said, exactly. So when I got my journal, she was like, that's exactly what I want you to write about, is that. I want you to say, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to write about. So I'd write it about 5 times. And then, no word of a lie, once I wrote that out 5 times, things just started to flow. Like, just little things started to come out, and I just started writing. And I was like,
I don't know was the start.
Yeah, that was the start. Yeah. So I started off with, I don't really know what to write.
Yeah.
So just writing that, and then the pen just flowed after that, and just all the stuff just started coming out on the piece of paper. And the beauty of journaling is, number one, like I said, it gets all of the stuff out of your mind, because we can be so full in our head and it's so foggy. And by actually pouring all that out on paper, we get to look at it and actually analyze it a lot better. So we start to read it, and we're like for me, I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know I was thinking that. So stuff started flowing. I started to analyze things a bit clearer, and I'd be like, wow, that's so cool to get that out. I'll definitely experiment with that. So the beauty of journaling as well is you get to be creative, and this is your personal journey. So no one gets to see this. This is just between you and your journal. And this is your way of just expressing yourself and allowing anything, no matter how silly or messy or crazy it looks, it actually doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what's going on in our minds, and we just want to throw it out all on the paper so that we can create a space in our mind that we're like, whoa, I can actually think now.
Yeah,
like I have a clear system up there where I don't have all this stuff like going 10 miles an hour. And that was me. I was a rushing woman syndrome. I was always a hunter and hustling and stuff. So to be able to put it on paper just made it so much more structured and organized for my life going forward, that I kind of sat back and I was like, wow, that actually makes me really happy.
Okay, so just before we carry on, you mentioned that you struggled at the start
of journaling.
Yeah, on the journaling side of things. What was when your mentor first told you that I want you to journal? Can you expand on the processes that you went through from first hearing that to writing it down in the book to where you are from that point on?
Just not wanting to make myself a priority, because you obviously needed to put time aside to do this.
Okay.
And she told me to start off with 10 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I had so many excuses, like I just made up so many excuses to not do it.
Can you give us a couple?
Because I'm a perfectionist. So
what's perfectionist got to do with not writing in the journal?
Because I knew that if I was going to write, it would have to be really, really perfect. And I had a scribble or a cross out, or when she mentioned messy, it kind of was like, oh, I can't let it be messy. It's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I guess so a lot of the reasons why we're perfectionists is, number one, we don't like to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we procrastinate about it because we don't want to fail. And thirdly is we don't feel that we're good enough. So good enough to prioritize our time to give ourselves 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of people struggle with that. They're just like, I don't have 10 minutes, whereas everyone actually does. We've just got to fight our mind to actually push past that and do it. So once she told me, right, I'm going to be in your corner and I'm going to kick your butt, that was the beginning stages. So she was just like, come on, you can do this. Just try it. Just give it a go for a week and then give me some feedback. So pretty much the first time that I did it, I messaged her straight away and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Mm.
So you mentioned it was a battle. How much of a battle was it?
It was just, it's basically just that beginning stage for me.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
And probably there I'm not, I've done a lot of work on my perfectionism. So, I've had to learn that if I miss a day, that it's actually okay, because I would actually beat myself up about it and I'd be like, oh my God, you failed. Whereas I actually didn't, so I always tell people, just reset. Don't beat yourself up. It's not it's not a race. We're not trying to be perfect here. It's just progress. Progress.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you went from there to where?
Yep. So my other rituals. Yep. So then I was introduced to breath work. And
can you just explain that briefly, what breath work is?
Yeah. So breath work is it's just a technique that we use to help calm down our nervous system and get ourselves into a relaxation state. So it's about really being intentional and focusing on what you're doing right now. So it's really simple. It's just breathing, but it's actually being aware of it is probably the biggest part of it. So every time we go into a coaching or any time before we do a journaling session, or even when we rise up in the morning to get out of bed, I always go back to the breath and I start that, because the benefits of breath work is like amazing. It helps you to relax. It calms down your nervous system. It's getting the blood flow through your body, and it's really grounding you and getting you ready for your day. So normally I'd get everyone to take a nice deep breath into their puku, and then come up to
the chest. So for those ones who are not in New Zealand, what's a puku?
Oh, sorry, tummy. Yeah. And then we hold our breath for 3 seconds, and then we breathe out. Yeah, okay. So I can show you. So I take a nice deep breath in, and then I just hold it, and then I release. And then I just do that 3 times, and already, like, I will ask someone, I'll be like, well, how do you feel? Like, what is your body doing right now? And we'll do 3 breaths, and they'll just say, oh, I feel really calm and I feel really relaxed. And I'm like, boom, that's what we want. So, it's like getting out of that, because I used to have a lot of panic attacks.
Okay.
And I was introduced to this breath work, and they're like, just take 3 breaths. Just pull over. If you're in the car, pull over. Take some beautiful, nice deep breath in and out, and the panic attacks will go. So I gave it a go one day when I was like hyperventilating and just felt really overwhelmed, and I was rushing. And then I just went, okay, I'm going to give this a go. Pulled over, did 3 breaths, and I was like, wow, like I actually feel really a lot more calmer. And it just makes you get back into analyzing your situation, getting back into perspective, and being like, actually not that bad. Like, I can actually do this. So that was another ritual that I've introduced to my life to bring me more happiness and joy and grounding and balance and all of that yummy stuff. Yeah. So what else do I do? I do a shower ritual, and this started off feeling a little bit uncomfortable because it's not something that we're used to doing for ourselves. So a shower ritual is something that I've created where we stand in the shower, and because how many times do we stand in the shower and we're always rushing, right? We're just like, oh my God, I've got to have a wash. And I've got this job to do and that job to do. I need to have a quick wash. And then you get out and it's done. Whereas I think, well, this is one time that you get to have a shower. Nobody's around. It's just you and the water. And why can't this be a little ritual ceremony for yourself? So when I jump in the shower, I've got the water pouring on my body, and the first thing I do is I thank Mother Earth for allowing water to be given to me, warm water, and the comfort of my own home. So I'm always thankful for that. I'm like, thank you. I get to have a shower in my home, and it's nice and warm. I don't have to go down to the river where it's freezing cold. So I'm always really grateful and thankful for that. So that's the first thing I always do. And it's, it's going back to just the simple stuff that we really take for granted. It's just like, we complain about so many things in life, and life's so crazy, and life's not fair. But actually, like, we just need to be grateful for just the little things, and then it takes all that other stuff out. And the more we implement that and just be grateful for tiny things like the roof over our head, and, oh my gosh, I get to put food on the table, all those sort of things. I get to drive a car. I get to wear clothes, just things that we always take for granted. If we can just show a little bit of gratitude towards that, life doesn't have to be that bad. Yeah. So when I'm in the shower, I grab my soaps or my gels or my oils, and I just show intention to myself in that moment where I can actually start feeling grateful for my body, for what it does for me every single day. Thank you to my cells and my organs and my blood that circulates throughout my body, my hair, and I just rub oils all over my body. Instead of like scrub, and then getting out, I'm actually being intentional. I'm in the moment, and I'm like, thank you for my body. for enabling me to walk, for getting me from where I need to be, for my beauty, for my body, my arms, and I just massage all the oils, and I think about those things when I'm in there. So that's another
ritual.
Yeah.
Like when we're in the J-dubs, we sort of got to sacrifice everything apart from, we don't matter, basically. Do this for that person, do this for that community. You said all those things that you needed to do for yourself. How important was it to realize the fact that you needed to do those things for yourself?
Because it just made me feel really good. It made me feel really good about myself.
Yeah.
And it's not until I tried it. Like, you've got to try it. And if you can sit back and like do a lot of, I used to be quite judgmental about it in the past, because I was like, why would you do that? That's just silly. Like, why would you make yourself a priority? It shouldn't be about me. It's about others. I'm a giver. There's a quote, right, or something in the Bible about there is more love in giving than receiving, which is good to it, which is true to a degree. But what about receiving for ourselves? I just think that it's really important that in order to give to others, we really need to give to ourselves first and foremost. And a few years ago, like I'll give you this example. It's when I started my massage therapy business. I was doing one of my courses, and she asked me in that moment, what are your top 5 priorities? And I was like, oh, easy. My children, my husband, my job, my family and friends, and me. And she said, okay. She said, well, we're going to cross your name off the bottom and we're going to put your name up the top because you're number 1 priority. And I was like, really? Like, even then I was like, what do you mean? Like, why am I number 1? And she said, well, how can you give other people massages if you aren't even given to yourself? And she said, because she said massage is very demanding and it takes so much energy out of your body because you're taking on other people's, energy. And she said, and if you don't receive, or if you don't make yourself a priority, you're going to give that bad energy back to someone else. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. So that's where the penny dropped for me. I was like, I definitely don't want to give bad energy to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's when I realized that was probably my moment where I realized, holy crap, yeah, I really do need to make myself a priority. Yeah. And that's where I knew it was really important. And it's quite interesting because I had another mentor, and she always gets dressed up really beautiful. And being brought up as a J-dub, like I would, to an extent, I would think that was quite selfish and self-absorbed. But then I realized, I was like, but why not? Like, why not? If it makes you feel really good and happy within yourself, why can't I put a pretty top on or some makeup or do my hair, just so that I feel good in every aspect of my being? Sometimes I'll get dressed up and I'll just vacuum. Why can't I? Like, what is the rules around that?
That's right.
I feel pretty, and I'm cleaning the floor.
Yeah.
And my husband says, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm just cleaning." Why are you dressed up? And I'm like, "Because I felt like it." And he was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." Yeah, and I thought, why not? Why do I have to look like crap? And I used to do that. I'd like chuck my hair in a ponytail and put a hoodie on and run my kids to school, and I'd be like, I can't come out, guys, I'm like messy. And then I'd be like, and it's because I just had no self-worth. I didn't value myself enough. I didn't care. I was like, oh, I'm just ugly and good for nothing. I'm just going to hide under my hoodie. And I was like, when I started to do this work and started to invest in myself, I was like, I don't need to do that. I can look beautiful just because I want to. Because I know as a JW, we worry about judgment, like being judged. And now I just, because I've made so much investment in myself, and I've done so many rituals, and I try to make that a part of my everyday life. I don't care what people think anymore. And this is what the opportunity everyone else can have, is when you do this, when you invest in yourself and do these beautiful rituals, you actually won't care what people think about you. And that's, it's so, I can't even describe it. Like, it creates so much freedom of choice, that you're actually like, I really don't care. Yeah. Take me as I am. If you don't like it, then I don't care.
Yeah. So where you are now, that happened overnight, right?
Sorry, what was that?
Where you are now, from when you started, that was just overnight, last week, last month, last year?
So I've been on a journey for about 4 years.
Yep.
And this is actually it's an individual process. So a lot of people can go really quick with this and just grasp it and just run, or it can take a bit longer. So I probably took 4 years I've been on this journey, and probably the last 12 months I've just really dived in and just given it my all. But yeah, everyone's different. It's an individual thing. You can go slow. There's no rush. You can just take your time, and sometimes I just like to focus on one ritual at a time. Too many rituals can be just too overwhelming to begin with. So just focusing on one and implementing that into your daily routine is all you need. So other beautiful things I do is I love fitness. Like I've been doing CrossFit for a couple of years now. And I love that because, number one, we have a beautiful community. So we all high-five each other at the end of the session. So for me, it's all about connecting with other like-minded people on the same journey. And then I love the power of lifting, because every time I lift or reach a PB, which is a personal best, so I'm only racing against myself. I'm not competing against anybody else. This is just me and my journey. And when I lift and I get a PB or something, my personal best, I feel so empowered. Like, I feel strong. I'm like, wow, I can lift that. And that fills my cup. That makes me happy. And that brings me joy. And that makes me feel good. Yeah. So running. So I used to be a lot bigger than I am now. Like I was 103 kgs. And I've lost 23 and a half kgs. And for the first time, I've only just started it, but last weekend I decided to go for a run. And it's the first time that I could run and actually get why runners enjoy running. Because I no longer had this pain in my legs. I didn't feel like I was carrying 20 kgs on my shoulders. I just felt lighter. I felt energized. I felt invigorated. I was like, had these endorphins going, and I was just running. And I was like, I could just keep running and running and running. And that's another thing for me that I've implemented in my life, because it makes me feel good and it makes me happy and it brings me joy. Yeah. So you've just got to find what brings you joy and what makes you feel good. It could be like reading a book. Like, I love reading books. And I like to
storybooks with pictures.
No, it doesn't really bother me. I think both. Yeah. Like probably the Home magazine would be good with pictures. So for me, reading is, I like to find inspirational authors that are going to help build me and become a better person. Because one thing that everyone needs to remember is we never actually stop learning. Like, even though I've been doing this journey for 4 years, I'm never going to stop. I will always carry on learning and evolving and becoming the person that I want to be. So I will never stop. So when I read, I try to find books that are going to inspire me and help me become the person I want to continue to be.
So have you got a favourite author that you really find inspiring?
Yeah, I'm reading this book. Well, I've got lots actually. Peter Kelly. I've followed her for for years now. Probably about 5 years. And I've got her book, Earth is Hiring, and she is just creating a new generation of thinking. And she's inspiring young people and entrepreneurs to really go and talk all about grounding and not chasing after the success anymore. She's trying to change their mindset around how we look at success and happiness and joy. So I've got a lot from her book, and she's teaching us about everything we need to know is in here. So yeah, she's a beautiful book. I love Louise Hay, Byron Katie. There's lots out there.
Sure.
A lot of people like to do art, so being really creative. So people like to draw or paint. That can bring you joy and happiness. I love to dance, so I'll just crank up some music, and I always try to pick
your Facebook videos on that.
Oh yeah. My TikTok. Yeah. So
your poor kids.
What's that?
Your poor kids.
Yeah.
Having your mum dance around, all happy like, embarrassing them.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? One thing I want to share is like, why do we have to be an adult all the time? Like, we're so serious. We're so busy, and we're so like, got to work and got to do this and got to do that. Like, why can't we just not adult all the time? Why can't we just go back to being a kid? And I tell my girls, I'm like, go and jump on the trampoline. Go and, like, it's raining here at the moment. I'm like, go and jump in a puddle and just be silly.
Maybe they're waiting for you to set the example.
Yeah. Exactly. Just have some fun. Do a flip or do a roly-poly on the floor. Like, this is what I teach all of my women in my coaching. Is like, just go and be silly, laugh, have fun, be stupid. And dancing. One song that I really love at the moment is Alicia Keys' "Girl Is on Fire." And I just crank that, and I imagine myself just standing on a big cliff, and I'm just like, the wind's blowing my ear and hair, and I'm just on fire. Like, life is so good. And I just crank that. So I try to find music that I find really motivating and inspiring, like the ones that like that song that you did at the beginning with the trolls, like they're feeling good, inside my bones, like just music like that. Any inspiring music, I would crank that up and dance.
So what's Alicia Keys' song you were saying?
Oh, Girl on Fire. Girl is on fire.
Let's see if we can find
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, another one. Girls on fire.
Fire. And I always feel so good when I listen to that song.
Yep. We'll just get rid of the ad that they've got going. We'll put it up.
And I really, I fell in love with aesthetic dance. So it's free flow. When I'm coaching with my girls, I'm like, get a playlist, start hunting out some music, and then they usually share it in our group. And they go, hey guys, I've got my playlist. Like, if you guys want my music. And it's really cool because you can share it on through iTunes or Spotify. You can share your playlist with everybody. So yes, that's what I like to do. I like to create a playlist of music that I find really inspiring and it's going to make me feel really good, not sad, really happy music. And dancing can really do that. Like, it gets the endorphins going and the feel good vibe, and just your heart races and you just feel amazing. And that's why I do TikToks. I haven't done one for a while, and I'm craving it really, because that's why I do it, because it's just so silly. And it's actually quite nice just to laugh at yourself. Like, just laugh. Like, laugh at yourself. Laugh at, what you're doing. It's okay. It's funny.
It is. We just had a comment before. We're no longer ignoring ourselves, instead paying attention to what we need and who we are. Great to prioritize ourselves, get to know ourselves better. Nice to meet the person within. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the only way that we can ever reconnect with our goddess or our gut instinct or our intuition is if we actually do those rituals. So like journaling and breath work, and you might want to do yoga or something, or meditation. Meditation is so beautiful because all it's doing is just helping you calm down and get into a relaxation state so that you're able to feel what your body is actually wanting. Because we all know, like, people go, I don't know what I want to do. I don't have a purpose. I don't have a goal, or I don't know what I want. You actually do know. You actually know. Like, everyone knows. My daughter said this the other day, Mum, I don't know what I want. And I'm like, babe, you actually do know. You just need to. Yeah. And I was like, you just need to get grounded. You just need to create that space in your mind so that you can actually figure it out and get back into that space of like, and she will tell you, or he will tell you, it will tell you what you want. Yeah. But we have to prioritize ourselves, number one.
Okay, I was going to mention that you seem to say a lot about women, which is great because women seem to be dogged by a lot of men who want to push them down. What about men?
Working with men?
Yeah, you mentioned all these practical things. Is that similar for a male?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
male seems to be like the old saying, men are from Mars or Venus or wherever they come from. We know both females and males are different.
All of it. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. All of it's going to help. Shower rituals, journaling, breath work. Like lots of males I know that are coaches. They all implement all of this into their lives. Definitely, because there's actually, we call it energy, and it's one's masculine energy, one's feminine energy. And most of us are in the masculine, and it actually doesn't have a gender on it. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. They both connect to both of us. Okay. So masculine is something that most of us are always in. So we're very driven and focused and structured, and we're hustling, and, we're working, and and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, all of that is beautiful, but when it's not balanced with feminine, so it's out of alignment, so masculine's right up here and feminine is way down here, that's when we start to have trouble. So feminine energy is about being in the flow and balance and being grounded and creating space, and and that's the most important thing. If we can get both of those in balance with each other, no matter if you're male or female, everything will feel aligned, and everything will flow. So it's about
males being males, they might fight against this. I guess I would include myself in this, some of these ideas, until I learn what some of the ideas could actually do for me. What bit of encouragement would you give them to start taking the first baby steps?
Just buy a journal.
Just buy a journal?
Yeah, that'll be the first thing I recommend. Just buy a journal and take out all the expectations of yourself. You really need to know why you're doing this. So you have to ask yourself, what is my purpose for this? Like, what do I actually want? Do I want to change my life? Like, what's your intention? Like, why do you want to go on this journey? Well, you're obviously here because you're wanting help and you want to make these changes and you want to find happiness and joy. So we just have to push out all those negative thoughts or old, what do you call it? Like old thought patterns, and actually just go, you know what? What have I got to lose if I just try it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and just try putting a piece of paper and see what happens, and, and just getting messy with it and being playful and just write. Yeah. That'll be my biggest advice, is to start off with that. What have you got to lose? How's it going to hurt you? Give it a go.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now that you know the benefits and we've spoken about that, start to see what comes up for you. And when you start to progress and you start to journal more, then we sort of add things in, like, well, write 3 things that you're grateful for. Like, what are you grateful for in this moment? So I'll go, 1, I'm grateful that I can breathe today. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful that the sun's out, grateful for my healthy children. Like, there's so many things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So that's how we start to implement into our journey, and we start to get a bit more creative. And I'll do a lot of things like goal setting in my journal. I'll be like, right, what am I going to do? And I'll write some goals down. Like, just play, get creative, give it a go. Have you ever journaled, Shane?
Off and on. I wouldn't say I've done it for too long, but I have done it every now and again.
Yeah,
it has helped me get my thinking straight.
Yeah, beautiful.
I've helped other people with the help of other people as well. Been a big help. They've suggested a number of things, listening to them.
Yeah.
Do you think, just going along that line of thinking, that it's important to get somebody who can help you shape your thinking and mentor you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the
definitely benefit? Just knowing that you're not alone, that you've got that, you just got someone in your back. Like, because remember, we've always been givers and we give to everyone else. So trying to make ourselves priority can be quite a difficult thing to begin with. So I just feel that I look at them as my cheerleader in the background, and they're cheering me on. They want me to succeed. You've got someone that's actually on your side and who's going to listen to you. As a thing, and actually being heard for the first time, because I know growing up as a JW, like I could talk to people about my situation, but no one could really help me or understand me because they don't get it. Having a coach in my corner who actually believes in me and knows that, hey, this is not okay and we're going to get through this together, was definitely something that I really loved. Just feeling believed in, and someone that I could trust, and someone that had my back. Those were the biggest thing. And when I needed a kick up the bum, I got one. But it was all from love. I knew it was from love and compassion.
Yeah.
It was a nice result, and sometimes I did deserve a good kick up the bum.
I think most of us do.
Yeah, because ultimately they just want the same goal as you. They want you to succeed, and the beauty of life coaching is, like, as a life coach, is what people don't realize is we think about our people all the time. Like, I think about mine in the shower, on the toilet, when I'm driving. Like, I'm always constantly like, what else can I do today? How can I support this person? Like, we do spend a lot more time, thinking about how we can be of benefit to our people, that we work with. So,
Okay, so just looking back over the practical things you talked about, you've got journaling. What's the benefit of that?
So journaling is really beautiful to get out of our foggy minds and take all of that stuff that's lingering and sitting in there and causing overwhelm and stress and anxiety, and we just put it all out on paper so that we can actually create a beautiful space in our mind where we can think a lot clearer. And when we see it on paper, sometimes we get to sit back and be like, wow, I get to analyze this so much clearer. I didn't actually think I was thinking that, but thanks. I'll take that on board. Those are probably the biggest 2 that I can think of. Yeah.
Cool. Focusing on yourself, the benefits?
Focusing on yourself will help you really understand who you are as a person, creating that trust and that bond and surrendering to whatever's possible. So it brings you so much when you can ground yourself and fill your cup up. So you have this, not just a cup that's filled, it's actually overflowing. So when you're constantly investing and doing beautiful things for yourself, you're giving from an overflow. So you're pretty much unstoppable. Like, you just won't care about what others think of you anymore. You just go and do your thing, and you feel so much more happier and content within yourself. You feel freedom and peace and joy and all of that yummy deliciousness.
I also heard you say, with regards to going having fun, jump in the puddle, jump on the trampoline, roly-polies, cartwheels, the benefit of doing that?
Well, what do you think? I guess when we do stuff like that, silly things, we laugh, right? And we can
absolutely.
and laugh at others and laugh at ourselves. You know, when we play games or run around and be silly, like, we automatically just want to laugh and be silly, and that brings what? Happiness and joy, and that's what we're all about. And you can have all of that. You just have to go and create it for yourself. So sometimes I'll jump on a tramp and I'll probably pee my pants, but I'm happy to laugh at that. You know, but, you know, and I can do things like that. I can laugh at myself and not care. I don't care what people think of me. I've had 3 children, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you used the word no attitude. So all those things.
Life is about enjoyment. It's not about struggle and, you know, like, and fear. Like, because when we think of those things like fear and guilt and scarcity and unworthiness, they all come from a very low vibration, and we don't want that. We don't want to be down there all the time, and that's how I felt being a JW. I was like, I was always living in fear. I was like, oh, if I don't go to the meetings, I'm not going to make it to paradise. If I don't go out on service, I'm not going to be able to save people. And life's, you know, like, we just become so miserable. And it's like, if we can just, and so we're constantly living in that guilt because you didn't go to the meeting, guilt because you haven't studied, guilt because you didn't answer up in the meeting. You know, there's so much guilt, judgment, fear, constant fear of the last days. And why do we want to be on that low vibration? It just makes us feel so yuck. Yeah, so we want to lift our vibration. We want to come from a place of positivity and love and compassion, because in all of our humanness, like, we're all human. We're not perfect, and in all of that, in all of our humanness, we just want to be, number one, we just want to be loved. We just want to be accepted, and we just want to connect, you know, and if we can create all of that within ourselves, then life becomes so much fun and joy and happiness all the time. And there'll be moments, like, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not always happy like this. Like, there are moments where I feel really crap. Yeah. And, you know, and I have feelings of, you know, anxiety or unknownness, or like, oh my God, why do I feel like this? I get tired, and that's okay, because I'm aware of it. I can stop, and I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling good today. Yep. And that's what I mean about that connection to our bodies. Like, we can understand, like, oh, Moana's not feeling good today. What's just happened? Oh, have you journaled lately? No. Yes. Have you done your breath work? No. You know, like, I'm not perfect. Like, I don't do this 150%. Like, there are days where I just don't. And that's okay, because we're just human, right? We're not supposed to be perfect, and we're going to stuff up. And that's okay. If we can just be okay with that and be like, you know what? I didn't journal today. I'm just going to do it again tomorrow. And if tomorrow doesn't work out, well, I'll do it the next day. But just understanding that, hey, my body is not okay at the moment. What do I need to do? And just knowing that is huge. At least you're aware of it now. Whereas before, I wouldn't have even asked that question. I would have been like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I have no idea. Yeah, and I guess I've created a beautiful relationship with anxiety. So before, when I used to get really anxious and have major panic attacks, and I'd end up in a ball, in a cocoon on my bed, bawling for hours, to the point where I couldn't cry anymore, just wanting to just not be here anymore, to leave. yeah, once I've got the understanding of anxiety, I've actually created a friendship with anxiety. So anxiety is actually not as bad as what you think. It's more of a protector. It's there to protect us. So when we get anxious thoughts, it's actually a sign like, hey, your body's trying to tell you something, like something's not right. What are you going to do about it? So it's about solving that problem. Rather than having a hate relationship with anxiety, why can't we just be friends with it and be like, okay, what's wrong with me today? Like I'm anxious. What is this about? Tell me. I'm listening. And that's the thing, is we need to listen. We need to pay attention to what our body is wanting and needing, and that's why we get anxious. Well, that's what I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I believe it's a protection.
Yeah, it's an unusual. I hadn't thought about it being a protection like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear how you describe it now compared to what it was.
Yeah. Because I always feel we need, like, let's say if we go back to, the cave days where, we went hunting for our food, and then all of a sudden we get this fight and flight feeling of that someone's chasing us. So we're running for our lives, right? So that's that fight and flight mechanism, that anxiety, that feeling is like, oh my God, we need to run. We've got to run for our lives. So it's like a protector. So anxiety is just like a warning. Hey guys, like, oh, hey Moana, something's not right there. Something's not in balance. Like, you need to do something about it. You need to fix it. Like, come on, let's sort this out. So we do that by journaling, getting back to the breath work, to ground, to calm down our nervous system. And when we do that calming work, we can analyze it a lot better, right?
Yep.
So anxiety can go, hey, you're not feeling good. Okay, shit, I haven't journaled. So I'll get my journal out, start journaling, do my breath work, ground myself, get back into balance. Oh, yay. Thank you, anxiety. Yeah. It can be a beautiful thing. We just got to change our mindset.
Yeah. So I guess the question I'd like to ask, we come out of the J-dubs from the high control group.
Yeah.
We feel alone. Would you say it's important, before we move on to anything else, whether it be a relationship, another organization where we want to put our faith in, do you think we need to work on ourselves?
Yes, 100%. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to go back to when I left, and I did feel very alone, because I felt very misunderstood, because no matter who I talked to, they had their opinion, calling us a cult, and I didn't like that. And even today, I still find that hard, that word hard to say, So being really misunderstood, oh, you don't understand, you don't get it. And so, yes, of course, I felt very, very alone. I have a lot of regrets in regards to making that investment. Like, to be really fair, I didn't know much about investment in myself. I had a counsellor when I was at high school, and I felt very unheard, and I felt like she was just there collecting her paycheck, and she didn't listen to anything. I felt very unheard. I had made up my mind when I was at high school that I was like, I'm never going to a counsellor. Like, I'd pretty much, people had told me in my adulthood, you need to go and see a counsellor, and I'd be like, nah, I'm not going. Like, I had this ego about me. I had that bad experience, and I was like, why would I do that? They're not going to listen. So I've actually never been to a counsellor, to be really fair, and I chose not to. And it's not until I got really broken, and I was trying to search for happiness externally. I my happiness, or I lose weight, I'll find this happiness and all this stuff. But a long time before I invest in myself into a relationship, or before having children, or before whatever, absolutely. because I should have done this years ago, but it's all about timing.
Yeah, it is.
I went out and I still felt miserable. I got married and I married a beautiful man, and he's a beautiful husband. He's given me beautiful children, but I still wasn't completely happy. And it's not that it was him; it was me.
Yeah.
And I.
Looks like we've lost somebody.
Yeah, I had.
She's coming back.
Oh yeah.
You're back again.
Yeah. So I always was like, oh, I'll just get to that destination, or I'll just get to that. Like, if I just get married, that will make me really happy. And I'm not saying that I didn't have a beautiful wedding, because it was amazing, but I still wasn't fully happy. And it had nothing to do with the exterior or my life. It was just me.
Yeah.
I needed the work, but I had no idea. I did not know that I could do life coaching. So would I recommend that you invest in yourself? Absolutely. Because once you do the work on yourself, because I believe in energy, like we're all energy, it's all science, and whatever we reflect out is what we always get back. So if we can invest in ourselves first, then everything becomes better. And if you're looking for a partner, just find the happiness within first. Yeah, sort that out, because getting a partner or having a husband or having children, if you haven't invested in yourself, you'll still be looking for that happiness. Yeah.
So when we're from the J-Dubs, we're still going to be miserable if we don't work on ourselves. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's number one priority.
So, number one priority. So as a conclusion, what would your bit of encouragement be to everybody who's going to listen and watch this, whether they're on the live stream now or listening in the group?
Just trust it. That's probably the biggest thing I can say, is just trust this opportunity. Trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I know it feels like, I know when I first dived into coaching, I felt so guilty. Like I felt so much guilt to invest time and money into myself. And don't worry, I carried around a lot of guilt to begin with. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But if you know that you really need it, and you're sick and tired of struggling and feeling miserable and all of that stuff, like me, like I was such a mess. I was in a really bad place mentally. And if I could say anything, just trust yourself and just go with it. And yeah, there might be a little bit of guilt there on the way, but just bypass that and just invest and do the work, because it just changes everything, and it puts everything into perspective, and everything becomes so much clearer, and you have so many aha moments where you're like, oh, really? Is that why I felt like that? Like I had no respect for myself, and I've had a very colourful life, don't you worry. And but to understand why I did what I did, and it explained everything. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a slut like people used to call me. And I was like, all I wanted was just to be loved and accepted. That's what I was craving for. But I always thought I was like, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And there's really not. And the only way that you'll find out is by investing and doing this work. Like, I truly cannot express that enough. Like, I truly believe it.
Well, we want to say thank you for coming on tonight and just helping us to understand the aspect of happiness, what we need to do, the practical steps we can take, and the encouragement you've given to everyone.
Yeah, I hope it's helped. And just remember, it's progress over perfection all the time. Yeah.
So if we just wait for perfection, we'll never get anything done. We've got to make a start.
Yeah.
So thank you once again, Moana. We certainly appreciated your time. And just so that everybody knows, Moana is one of our life coaches in the Dare to Dream group. Remember, if you want to work on something, we can help you. The team is there to support you to reach the goals that you want to reach, whether it's getting rid of the guilt factor, other things that trigger you. They can be worked on they can be solved, and in many cases, they can be memories that don't trigger us, because, let's face it, we've all got things that trigger us. So friends, take the opportunity. We're here to support you. So in the coming weeks, just to let you know what will happen next Sunday, New Zealand time, most of the world, it'll be Saturday evening. We're going to have an amazing woman who's actually moved on, what steps she's taken, what she's doing now, what she's learnt, and we look forward to finding out some of the things that she's been through. The following week, we're going to have a Zoom meeting where we can just have fun, talk about anything. And then the following weekend, we want to put an invitation out to anybody who would like to be part of a panel. We want to put together some of our coaches and our therapists and have them on what we're doing right now and get you to ask questions and have answers, maybe questions you've always wondered about. But the whole goal for all we're doing now is we want to be able to focus on the life after Jehovah's Witnesses. That's something worth aiming for. So way of conclusion, what we're going to do is, not we're going to close with prayer or anything, but we're going to play our opening song, not song number 10 or anything like that. But thanks to the trolls, we're going to get them to sing us out from this part. And all going well, we'll have that sorted in just a minute. Thanks once again for everybody for being here. Moana, thank you for sharing your
life after Jehovah's Witnesses. What are we going to do? What can you do? Is it really possible that you can dare to dream? How can we do that? Regardless of who you are, each one of us who has left a high control group will go through the stages that all survivors go through. Some move through a little faster than others. You see, when we lose something, we can get hurt, whether from family or our thinking. We may be in denial or speechless at the shock of it all. What is it all about when we get numb? It may be a roller coaster of emotion when you least expect it. We might search through our life and get angry at what's happened, or feel afraid when things happen in the world because we were taught to think that way. And as we go down this journey, we may get lonely. We might panic about things that they've taught us for so many years, and then when we finally do something for ourselves, we feel guilty. Through this journey of highs and lows, we need to make some adjustments. Yes, we might get depressed, we might get upset, we might feel that we don't fit in anywhere. The new relationships that we have, whether romantic or in everyday life, shows us the strength that was there all along. The patterns that we formed in our lives are now gone. We have the power within. We are free to create new patterns that give us hope, gives us a chance to finally help ourselves, to move on, to enjoy the freedom we now have and live the life we deserve. Will you dare to dream? But the question remains, how? You have the freedom. You can have a guilt-free life. It's all there for you to have. So you can dare to dream. Life holds special magic for those who dare to dream.